Chuck Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning for another 10 minutes of morning calm. And today, what we're going to look at is the concept of humility. And the context we've been looking at is this Bible story, two brothers, and they choose to go their separate ways, Abram and Lot. And we believe that in the Bible, you can read it at a surface level, you can read it at a deeper level. And at a deeper level, that means that there's parts of our life where things do split off. There's an outer self that's not so great, that kind of splits off from the inner self, that part of us where mutual love is, where God exists. And there comes a time where those things thankfully get parted. And what I want to do today is talk about the role of humility in all of that, because it's kind of interesting. So first off, just a distinction between two words. None of us wants to be humiliated. I don't know anyone who would call that a great spiritual practice. But I think we all really, really value people who are humble, people who have humility. And it's interesting, right? Because it's a slightly different flavor or smell to it. We know when somebody's being humiliated, and we know when someone has humility, and they're just different things. Humiliation sort of has this connotation of shaming and finally going to put you in your place and all that stuff there, which is just not a terribly healthy way to move forward. And to me, the image that comes to my mind when somebody is humiliated, it gets them to cower. And that's not what God's point is. Humility is far different. Humility, instead of getting us to cower, humility is about getting us to stand in terms of our true self. And it's a true self that has these very beautifully soft edges to it. And that's kind of the key to it, is that idea of soft edges. Because soft edges is what allows us to grow, to shift, to morph, to change, to do the things that God is calling us to do. So with talking about that, friends, and talking about what that all means and how that can work, I want to read for you a passage here, and then just give you a little spiritual practice. And this is from the book Secrets of Heaven. We're talking about that deeper meaning, that internal sense. And here, Emanuel Swedenborg says, the flesh's will, and here think, sort of external compulsions we have out of our natural lives, and a man's will, and think of a man's will here. These are just the parts where we're just stubborn, sort of narcissistic and stubborn. Are what divide, but love and faith that comes of love are what unite. So that idea of sort of our willfulness, and this is sort of a misguided willfulness, that's what will divide us from other people. And think of that as selfishness, narcissism. We use a million different words for that. And then there's this other part that unites, that brings things together, which is faith and love. And love is what actually gives rise to faith. Very distinct. I mean, you could talk a whole hour about that one, but it's an important distinction. So what does this mean? Well, what means, folks, that somebody who can really come from love, it's interesting because a loving place is a humble place. Isn't that interesting? People who are really loving, they have that soft edge, right? They're not caught up in being right. They know that the relationship is the most significant thing. They're willing to keep at it in terms of that relationship. And that means jettisoning a lot of just this deep need to be right. And again, the key differentiator here, it's the need. That word need is the problem. Being right is never a problem. Thank goodness we have a sense where we're right about certain things during the day. But it's that need to be right. That's the spiritual work. So how might we think of that, friends? Well, one way to hold it is do not always side with yourself. That's just a simple spiritual maxim. Do not always side with yourself. Isn't it interesting that do not always side with yourself? How much of the time we spend sort of in our own little courthouse of our mind, where we're completely justifying everything we do. At least I do this. I imagine many of us do this. Completely justifying what we do, completely creating a whole racket around it, a whole set of arguments around clearly why we're right and clearly why they're wrong. We create this. And I think there's a lot of health to be able to go like, yeah, I may not be right. I don't need to always side with myself. That maybe there is this different perspective. And that different perspective, if we do it from a spiritual angle, will come from love. And it's an appropriate love of self. It's a love of self that really wants to find out, how can I serve better? How can I love better? How can I connect better? That will create this beautiful, incredible soft edge. So those are some things to think about, folks, as we go into the day. It's a simple takeaway. Do not always side with yourself. So where today can you find yourself in an argument and just take a little pause, even if it's just mental, take a little pause. All right, I'm just not going to side with myself on this one. Maybe there's a different way to see it, and then see what shows up. So that's the idea for today, folks. I hope that makes a lot of sense to you and yours. And what we're going to do now we're going to shift gears as we always do. And the shifting gears at New Church Live for 10 minutes of calm, for those of you joining us the first time, is where we sort of get quiet and we try to get focused on some stillness as we start our days. So with that, dear friends, get yourself comfortable and give yourself a big breath. And the prayer bowl. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery ho out here on Facebook here. All righty, dighty. And again, I hope you're all doing quite well for today. See if this is going to cooperate here. Oh, no, it doesn't look like it's going to cooperate. Okay, just give me 1 second here, folks. Let's see if we can just go with our alternative way of doing this. For some reason, my phone sometimes just really dislikes being on a network. All right. One comment here. This is going to cooperate here. All right, couple comments. Teresa, good morning to you, my Pittsburgh friend. Linda, good morning. Great to have you joining us this morning as well. Now let's flip our receivers any over on New Church Live's page. Let's see here. All right, see if it's going to cooperate. Come on, Nelly. See if it's going to work for me here. There we go. Wait, this is like slow today. Sorry about that, friends. Because I do love this little bit of interaction every morning. All right. Just give it a second here. There we go. Martha, good morning to you, and I hope you're doing well. Marcus, great to see you, buddy. I'll be reaching out to you today. Sherry writes, good morning, heading your way this month. Sherry, that is very exciting, and I certainly hope you take me up on the offer to do a little house tour. We would love to have you over. That would be great. So, friends, just wishing you all the very best. God bless. Have a terrific rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. And a little note about your support and how much we appreciate your support here at New Church Live. Like our content? It's funded by viewers like you. Please consider becoming a sustaining supporter of New Church Live today. Take care, friends.